as you can tell, she's my, well, maybe you can't tell that she's my wash belly child, meaning she's my last child. And I knew that when I had her, I wasn't going to have any more children. And so, yeah, hi,
And so, yeah.
Teju Nandapa. So, what do you think about our relationship as mother daughter?
That's a big question that I don't know if I could answer in a succinct way, but I think we're very similar in many ways, which has caused clashes and also triumphs, and that a lot of what I do and who I am in the world is because of having you as a mother, and I think primarily because I wanted to go everywhere, but also you took me everywhere with you. And if you didn't, then I would make a pretty big case for you to take me there. So I think I spent a lot of time watching you do the work that you do in the world and being there as a participant, but also as your daughter. And so that has shaped the way that I do the work in the world that I do, and the moving around, and the busyness, and
All of that.
all of that.
So, Teju was very good at manipulating the situation. So, even when I was like, I am not taking you, I can't take you, she would.
I don't think manipulation is the word. I think I was very strategic.
Okay,
And I
okay.
understood the value in traveling and seeing other places and
Okay.
learning from other cultures, all of which are values instilled on me by my mother, Opal. And sometimes then I'd be like, remember the values that you're teaching me? Take me with you so I can learn more of those values. That is how things would happen.
Even when it was not convenient.
But it all worked out for the best. I think. But no, really, I think it was very interesting being a child usually around adults. Like in these cases, there were conferences, and parts of it would be boring for me. But I was still absorbing a lot of information, and I was still seeing the importance of what was happening, and I was still understanding the different global links and the links about women and diaspora and all of these things. That as I got older, I started to develop a consciousness as a result.
All right. So you're a poet, as among a lot of other things, like an environmentalist. And I was trying to think if you could remember one or the first occasions when you saw me perform and what impact that might have had on you.
I can't remember the first because I remember there being many. And I also remember being in situations where I felt like some of the content wasn't appropriate for my age. And so, like, certain poems about love and sex and other things, like, as an 8-year-old, I was like, ew, but it was part of the type of work that you did. And so it was interesting to just see that a lot of things that were normally seen as shameful in many cultures, you didn't make shameful. They were just a part of life. And so I think that helped me develop maturity in ways that other people don't, because it wasn't like, it was still gross to me, but it wasn't something to be embarrassed about or to be ashamed of. And it also was something that you could embrace and was a source of power. And so I think in terms of the way that I view my sexuality and my identity and the way I interact with people, a lot of it comes from not feeling ashamed. And I think a lot of women tend to feel shame. So I really appreciate that even in the poetry, there was a lot of themes of fighting against the things that tend to disempower us and to see them as being pieces of power.
You're a poet, and I think part of that is because, as an example, and what do you remember about me doing poetry?
Yeah, I remember my mom would come to my class every year and do a poetry class, and then at the end we'd produce a book of poems.
A series of poetry classes. I usually do 5 to 6 sessions.
Yeah. I mean, and after the poetry classes, we'd produce a book of poems with my class. And like in first grade and second grade, I felt really like forced to do poetry. I didn't feel like it was something that I wanted to do. I was forced to do it, and mom said I was good at it. So I was like, okay, this is just like something I could do along with soccer and dance and all these other things. And then when I got into high school, poetry remained in my life, but became a real source of expression for me, and to think about the political ideas that I was developing and different things that were happening in my environment. And so even though I felt like it was imposed on me, it ended up being very cathartic and also a good way for me to explain and articulate a lot of the things that I felt and see about the world. So over time, it became super important to the way that I express myself. No somos animales. We are not bred to be domesticated, domestico no. We are not to be studied. We built cornerstones, canals, railroads, raised families, always having to find familiarity in new places, mobilized cultures. To study us is to study society. How ironic, aprenda de mí. We are workers who worked to continue to work and still be in poverty, or to some of us who rose above cycles of recycled historical memories and oppression. We are not one color, one race, or one country. We are people from places, país, pride beyond the bounds of geographical or political boundaries. Some of us not citizens of limitations and laws. That does not mean we do not have rights to rights. El derecho de cultivar y el idioma. We are citizens of humanity, del mundo y el sol, no sola of the right to the nations our hands made. No somos animales. Somos migrants of opportunity and casualties, whose yellow, tan, black, moreno bodies were infallible, and to some disposable, and to many but not enough we are beautiful. We still carry pain that is in the cement holding buildings together, that is in the rusted metals traveled over and over, in the gold taken to the Spanish, the silver people, devalued and labeled underclass, because our words are English, the language that colonized us, because this is stronger than race, la raza. This is deeper than faith, it's a people, and I will always be political because of my culture. No somos animales, somos la historia. What's different from me and my siblings is I felt very connected to your Jamaican identity, and I wanted to spend a lot of time in Jamaica. And as you know, middle school, I tried to lobby to come to middle school here because I thought it was so important to my identity. And so I've always felt very Caribbean and American, but very Jamaican specifically. And wherever I go in the world, or whatever school I'm in, or organization I'm in, I always find other Jamaicans. And I always feel like there's such a strong sense of Caribbean heritage and pride and resilience. And so every year in college, I was on the West Indian Student Association, and we plan events, and I do a poem for all the events. And so this is a poem that I can't even remember when I wrote it, but it's called The Caribbean Affirmation.
And she's going to do a stanza, and I'm going to try to extemporaneously maybe do a line or two.
What?
Go read. Or I might chime in, like how we've done some choral poems.
Okay, sure. This is an improvisation.
Yes.
Let my words sweep you from the waters where we were made unto sweet remedies from inappropriate pain, washed away continually by the sea. For centuries, secrecy has been a way to cope. Prayer was an expression of hope. Family was not disposable.
Family was not disposable. Family was base.
You must always say hello to your neighbors in a communal society.
Hello.
Acknowledgement is foundational. We do not turn a blind eye to the blind man begging. We call him blind man and greet him like we greet everyone.
Hello.
Respect is unconditional. Love comes from within. I sing these words to bleeding ears, healing and rehealing from constant silence. Parched mouths ever wanting freedom, free from mental bondage. We are not one color of the earth, nor one country of fragmented hope. We are one world, called three worlds, forces to be reckoned with. Let my stories be histories of many numb souls with dry throats that have been swallowing defeat and oppression. Not without victory and liberation. Our hearts to be nurtured by each other's presence. Our time is to be valued because it is precious. This song is not one of a particular nation. This one, sung are the words for everyone who will hear them. Remember, we are butterflies, propelled by the sea's wind. constantly transforming lives.
Constantly transforming lives. And I just have to say, I don't remember, you were in junior high, right? When my book, what was that book?
The Leaf of Life.
No, I Name Me Name.
Oh, I
And
was
you-
in high school,
Oh, you were in high school.
and we had
for
the book launch.
Exactly, we had the book launch, and Teju organized with a number of your friends
Yeah,
to
4
do a
other
performance
poets.
out of the book launch.
Yeah, we. I think there was 5 of us in total, and we just went through the book and chose poems and passages, and then we staged a performance where we each kind of did poems and passages in unison and from different parts of the book.
Was that taped? Was that videotaped?
It must have been. I feel like the whole thing was videotaped, and then at the end, a couple of us did original poems.
Yeah.
But it was a big event, and a lot of people came out. It was really. It was also a creative way to do things. Mummy never does anything like the way that people think you should do them. She does them the Opal way, which is always an experience and an endeavor. And so I think also part of performance and poetry and kind of being with my mom in these different spaces has endowed me with an ability to envision the way a space can be, and envision an inclusive space and a creative space, and to think that certain things are not off limits, that everything is possible.
Yeah, everything is possible.